The rain pounded JFK's glass like drumsticks as Adrian Hale stepped onto his London-bound flight that Thursday night. He carried more than carry-ons, the ruins of an empire built on spin, and grief so dense it hollowed him into a shadow of the man he'd been. For 2 years he'd sprinted from his son's death, a marriage in shards, and decisions that led him here. He slumped into business class, spent and numb, unaware that a faulty seatbelt, a frightened little girl, and 3 simple words were about to unseal everything. Because sometimes the person who reaches you isn't a coach or guru. Sometimes it's a 7-year-old with crayons, who ignores your tailored suit and asks the one question that detonates denial. Before we dive back in, tell me where you're watching from, and hit subscribe if this story pulls you in. The Thursday downpour turned the tarmac into a gray mirror, reflecting distant borough lights. Travelers flowed through the terminal with heads bowed, dragging suitcases like private burdens they wished could be checked and forgotten. The air smelled like wet wool, coffee, and the electricity of departures. Among them moved a man lugging something heavier than luggage. At 41, Adrian had a face carved for magazine covers and summits. Angular jaw, dark hair threaded with impeccable silver. His bespoke suit fit like paint. Tonight, the polish couldn't hide the exhaustion etched into every line. He barely noticed the other passengers as he ghosted to the gate. His phone vibrated relentlessly, but he didn't look. Each call was another problem with teeth, another blaze to tame, another demand he no longer had the energy to meet. He pocketed it like contraband from himself. The flight was set for 9:45. He reached the gate with 20 minutes left, unsure how he'd driven here or checked a bag. The week blurred into sleeplessness and punishing meetings. His assistant packed, his driver delivered. All Adrian had to do was keep moving, inch by inch. 2 attendants whispered by the boarding door, their stage whisper carrying. "That's him," said the younger, a blonde in a severe bun. "Adrian Hale. My partner reads all the tech sites, says he's brilliant." The older one, kind-eyed, murmured back, "Brilliant or brutal? Saw headlines about a humanitarian project gone wrong." "Investigation's coming," the older added. "They say he crushes competition." Adrian pretended deafness and scanned his pass. The older attendant smiled professionally, but wariness shadowed her eyes. He wondered what reflected there, shark, burnout, or just another traveler flying towards something unnamed and away from something unforgiven. Business class was half empty, a relief. Adrian took his window seat and shut his eyes, the universal "leave me alone" sign. Up here, people respected invisible fences. Around him, overhead bins clacked, families negotiated seating, and the crew's practiced ballet set the aluminum hive for launch. Somewhere back in economy, a young voice cracked the hum. "Mama, I don't want to." A woman answered softly, steady as breath. "Layla, we talked about this. Grandma's waiting in London." But what if we fall? The question hung like turbulence before it ever arrived. Adrian opened his eyes despite himself. Through the seat gap, he saw a young black woman kneeling in the aisle, soothing a little girl. 7 maybe. The woman wore a simple ponytail, jeans, a tired sweater, infinite patience in her voice. That kind of gentleness made him look away. He didn't want to think about that species of love. It hurt. The chime called everyone to sit. The woman, Dr. Lila Brooks, buckled her daughter, Layla, whose hands clamped the armrests. Outside, ground crews skittered like neon insects. Engines gathered a low growl. Safety demos washed over him like static. He could recite them by heart. He shut his eyes and let the words drift past. Then the bumps began, ordinary for takeoff, until, behind him, metal snapped and a child cried out, "Layla!" Instinct ripped him around. The buckle had failed. The girl pitched forward, sliding toward the seat gap. Adrian moved before thought. He reached through the gap, catching sweater fabric, anchoring her until Lila hauled her back and clutched her close. 3 seconds, maybe less. But something inside his chest cracked open like a sealed jar. "Oh my God," Lila breathed. "Thank you. Thank you." "She okay?" he asked, voice rougher than planned. "I think so," Lila said, shaken. "The buckle, it snapped as we accelerated. How does that happen?" The kind-eyed attendant arrived, calm, settling like a warm blanket. "We'll move you both. Empty spots in business. You shouldn't worry about faulty equipment." Lila started to protest. We can't. No charge, ma'am. Safety issue. 5 minutes later, Lila and Layla sat across the aisle from Adrian. The girl had stopped crying, but fear still widened her eyes. She studied Adrian like a puzzle. He tried to ignore the small, persistent gravity of that gaze. At last she spoke, voice soft, but cutting through engine noise. You look tired, sir. He blinked. Of all things, he barked a laugh that wasn't exactly a laugh. Yeah, long week. Layla, Lila warned, cheeks flushing. Not polite. It's okay, Adrian said, and surprised himself by meaning it. When was the last time anyone had been that honest with him? Most people either wanted something or feared him. This child wanted nothing and feared nothing. She simply named what she saw. Sorry, Lila added anyway. She lacks a filter. Most grown-ups could use fewer, he replied, attempting a smile. The muscles protested. It felt like trying on a forgotten jacket. But yeah, you're right, I'm tired. Layla nodded, satisfied, but kept watching him, curious and unafraid. My mama says sleeping helps when you're tired. Your mama is very smart, he said. She helps people, Layla added. That's why we're going. She talks to other helpers. Lila looked mortified, but there was pride in the edges. Adrian recognized the mixture, determination braided with worry. That's important work, he said. It is, Layla answered with absolute certainty. Mama says everyone deserves a safe bed. The plane leveled. The chime released belts. Tablets glowed, books opened, headphones clicked. Adrian's briefcase pressed his shoes, full of documents waiting to devour him. Instead, he watched Layla draw. She produced a scarred notebook and a half-empty crayon box, treating both like treasure. She carefully chose a green crayon, tongue poking out in concentration. He found himself watching her hand make its own logic on paper. A few minutes later, she noticed and beamed, offering the green crayon across the aisle. Color helps when the sky feels sad, she said. He stared like it was a relic. When had he last colored anything? Grade school? Oh, I'm not much of an artist, he confessed. That's okay, she said. You don't have to be good. You just do it. Something about the simplicity hit harder than it should. He took the crayon awkwardly, like a skinny pen. Thank you, he said, and meant it more than she'd know. He slid it into his shirt pocket, where it rested against his heart like a tiny green talisman. Lila watched, expression unreadable. Gratitude, concern, maternal vigilance. Sorry, she murmured. We're bothering you. You're not, he answered too fast, softening. Really, it's different from my usual flights. What do you usually do? Well, work, sleep, avoid thinking about why I'm going somewhere instead of staying home. Lila's face shifted, recognition. I know that feeling. Cabin lights dimmed for the red-eye stretch. The attendants rolled past with a cart. Drinks, headsets, the usual comfort theater. Adrian ordered a whiskey, neat. Lila chose water and apple juice. Silence settled. The easy kind, born of shared, small crisis. Adrian closed his eyes to sleep. It didn't come anymore unless chemically persuaded, and he'd stopped the pills. They yanked him out of reality, worse than exhaustion did. He listened instead. Blanket rustle, a mother's murmur, safety woven from ordinary sounds. Hours thinned. Most of the cabin slept. Even Lila dozed, hand still holding Layla's. But the girl stayed awake, eyes on an animated movie playing silently. Adrian opened his eyes and found her looking at him again. Can't sleep? He whispered. She shook her head. The plane's too loud. Yeah, he said. It is. What do you do for work? She asked. He considered how you explain tech CEO to a second grader. How do you compress AI platforms and data infrastructure to a child's world? I solve problems, he said finally. People bring me problems. I try to fix them. Her eyes lit, superhero bright. He laughed, this one real, small and startled. Not the cape kind, he said. More like a fixer, but not exciting. Mama says all problems are exciting if you care, she replied. Your mama is wise. What kinds of problems? He tasted the metal of truth. The problems he fixed were revenue choke points, optics, shareholders' ulcers. Not problems that bled. His last big project had collapsed under its own moral weight. Complicated ones, he said. Tech stuff, making sure computers behave. Do you like it? She asked. Once, maybe. He'd believed he was helping the world. Lately, he wasn't sure what he believed. Sometimes, he said, the closest to honest he could manage. Lila stirred, but didn't wake. Layla leaned in conspiratorially. Mama works hard, she whispered, but she likes helping people, even when she's tired. She used to have a big office in... She scrunched, searching. Watch, Africa, she finished, triumphant. Then, money went away, and we came home. Cold slid into his stomach. Money went away. Mama says, sometimes rich people change their minds about helping, so we have to find new rich people who care. He knew exactly what had happened to Lila's program. He'd been in the room when the reallocation memo was sold as strategy. Dozens of grants slashed. He'd signed it without reading names. I'm sorry, he said, the words thin against a wound that size. It's okay, Layla whispered. Mama says we always figure it out. She returned to coloring. Adrian stayed in the dark cabin and let consequence creep from spreadsheet to flesh. Lila and Layla weren't line items. They were the human cost of his signature. The green crayon in his pocket weighed 1,000 pounds. Another hour bled away. Layla finally slept, notebook hugged close like armor. He should have slept. Instead, he looked at them, mother and daughter, who'd crossed his orbit at exactly the right second to remind him that good still existed. Lila woke as they crossed the Atlantic, disoriented, then immediately checked on Layla. Satisfied, she stretched carefully and glanced at Adrian. You're still awake, she observed. Can't turn my brain off, he said. Same, she replied. Thank you again for the seatbelt moment. I don't know what might have happened. Anyone would have. Maybe, but you did. She studied him, kind, unflinching. Layla was right. You look more than tired, not the regular kind. He wanted to deflect, but altitude, darkness, and anonymity loosened him. Bad few months, he admitted. Work bled into life. I used to think I was building something that mattered. Now I'm not sure. Lila nodded. I ran a health outreach program in Uganda. Real impact. Then the funding vanished. We shut everything down and came back to the States, she said. The knife twisted. That must have been devastating. It was. But I'm trying to rebuild. There's a conference in London, making connections, chasing new funding, starting over. She smiled, edges tired. Layla thinks I'm a hero. I'm improvising. She showed me her drawings, he said. Lila groaned, affectionate. She shares with everyone. They're beautiful, he said. One of her father, with wings. The sadness sharpened. James died 3 years ago. Car accident. Layla was 4. She remembers less than I wish. I try to keep him alive for her. I'm sorry. Thank you. She studied him again, and he knew she could see right through his expensive armor. You lost someone too. The words clung to his throat. Therapy hadn't pried them loose. His wife had begged. He'd shut everyone out. Here, a stranger's quiet opened the vault. My child, he said softly. Sadie. She was 7. About Layla's age. Lila's hand moved instinctively, then stopped, honoring the space. What happened? Car accident 2 years ago. I was supposed to drive her to school, but I had a dawn meeting. My wife took her. Someone ran a red. They said it was instant. Oh, Adrian, Lila said. Compassion full, but not performative. I'm so sorry. I haven't been home in months, he confessed. My wife and I couldn't breathe in the same rooms. Everything was Sadie. I ran into work, planes, hotels, nowhere. Grief waits you out. You can't outrun it, Lila said. It just sits and waits. I'm learning. Silence again. Honest and heavy and somehow bearable. Something shifted. A hairline crack in concrete. Does it get easier? Different, she said. You carry it better. Some days break you, then small moments arrive and you smile. Os, hold on to those. I can't remember the last time smiling didn't feel like betrayal, he said. Guilt's louder than everything. Guilt for what? Not being there, choosing work, loving my own importance, missing what mattered until it was gone. That's not fair to you. Maybe, still true. Layla murmured in sleep. Lila tugged the blanket, muscle memory, and love. Adrian's chest throbbed. Sadie slept like that, he whispered. Shrimp curled, hair everywhere at dawn, pancake demands at 6. What else do you remember? And suddenly he talked, really talked. Dinosaurs, bath songs, the bedtime book he'd memorized. Lila didn't fix or preach. She listened, present and steady, and he felt a knot loosen, tight fibers unspooling. He wasn't healed, not close. But for the first time in 2 years, air reached deeper. She sounds extraordinary, Lila said at last. She was, he said, swiping at unexpected tears. I don't deserve to remember her, he muttered. Not after what I've become. What have you become? Someone who only sees a bottom line, someone who cut programs like yours without blinking, someone so consumed by pain, I forgot everyone else was bleeding too. Lila considered him, voice firm, gentle. Oh, I think you care more than you'll allow, she said. And I think pretending otherwise is exhausting you. Meeting us reminded you the world exists beyond grief. Maybe. Definitely. She smiled, sun through dirty glass. Layla's philosophy. When the sky feels sad, add color. He touched the green crayon. In the dim cabin light, it glowed like a tiny beacon. Everything's been gray, he admitted. Then begin with green, she said. The plane droned east, London creeping closer. He didn't know what waited on the ground, whether the connection would evaporate in daylight, but something hopeful flickered stubbornly. In the window's reflection, his phone lit in his lap. Forgotten. An encrypted ping from an unknown number. He should have ignored it. Old habits won. One brutal line. Helios Phase 2 proceeds regardless of casualties. His hand tightened. Helios, the humanitarian initiative with teeth he'd tried to kill. The board hated him for it. Ethics complaints piled up. Death threats pinged his inbox. He'd hoped the sky could hold a truce. The past refuses burial. It claws back. Lila noticed the freeze of his face. Everything okay? Yeah, he lied. Work, nothing important. But it was life or death. He stared at Lila, whose work his company had already kneecapped. He realized he had a choice. Go back to the version of himself that burned things down for margins, or try to become the man Sadie would recognize, the fixer Layla imagined. The cabin prepared for descent. Dawn smeared pink and gold across cloud tops. Layla blinked awake, hair wild, hugging her notebook. She peered out the window. The sky feels happy now, she said solemnly. Adrian looked at the sunrise and thought about green, second chances, and children who see past armor. Yeah, he whispered. Tires kissed runway, the usual arrival symphony erupted, seatbelts unclicked, bins banged, phones reanimated. His pocket buzzed again. More messages, more demands, reminders that gravity waited at Heathrow. He gripped the slim hope he'd found somewhere over the Atlantic and hoped it would survive customs, taxis, and harsh fluorescent light. They arrived just after 6, London time. His phone hadn't stopped vibrating since British airspace. Adrian watched the city quilt unfurl, river stitches and commuter threads. Lila woke Layla fully. We're here, honey. Grandma next. Are you seeing your grandma too? Layla asked him. He smiled, despite himself. No, sweetheart, work. Boring, she decreed. Agreed, he said. The aisle clogged with impatience and reunion. Adrian lingered longer than necessary, watching Lila help Layla gather crayons carefully, like relics. He didn't want this to end. The small pocket, where he was just a tired man, not the imploding headline. The crowd funneled through the jet bridge into Heathrow's bright bustle. Well, Lila said, hitching her bag, I guess we split here. His phone rang. Kara, his assistant. She'd called every 20 minutes. He couldn't duck it forever. I should grab this, he said, apologetic. Of course. And thank you for catching Layla, for listening, she searched for the word, for being human. It hit harder than it should. Layla hugged his legs with fierce brevity. Bye, fixer man, don't forget to color. Then they were gone, swallowed by the terminal. He was alone with a ringing phone. Kara. Finally, she snapped. Where have you been? The board is ablaze. Martin's calling every half hour. Shareholders threaten an emergency vote, and reporters smell Helios. When will you be in the office? 9, he said. He wants you now. He can wait. I need a shower and a suit. Adrian. 9, Kara, not sooner. He ended the call before the argument hardened. Heathrow surged around him, lives in motion. He felt untethered, as if he might drift, unless he latched onto something solid. He joined the customs line, already rehearsing fires to put out and lies to starve. Then he heard Lila's voice ahead, strained. These are valid for 8 more months. I used them last time. The officer, face stern, sifted papers. Layla tucked close, anxious. Your visa allows tourism, the officer said. This letter mentions a professional conference, different classification. It's a charity summit, Lila pleaded. Oh, I'm unpaid, speaking for a nonprofit. Regardless, I must flag this. Step aside. Adrian moved without thinking, carving through the line with that practiced, entitled confidence boardrooms had taught him. Dirty looks bounced off. Excuse me, he said evenly. Is there an issue? Sir, wait your turn, the officer said. I believe there's a misunderstanding, Adrian replied. Dr. Brooks is attending the Global Ethics and Humanitarian Summit. I'm one of the keynote sponsors. She's with my delegation. Lila stared, bewilderment and recognition wrestling, but wisely didn't contradict. You can verify? The officer asked. Adrian scrolled nothing with conviction. Conference staff can confirm in minutes, he said, or we can debate visas while my delegation misses its panels. Your choice. He used his boardroom voice, calm, steel. The officer recognized authority's cadence. A stamp smacked. Welcome to the United Kingdom. Lila gathered papers, hands trembling thanks. Adrian followed them clear. Away from the desk, Lila turned. What was that? She asked, more stunned than angry. You just lied to a customs officer. I solved a problem, he said gently. That's my gig, remember? You said you're a keynote. Are you actually attending? He hesitated. He hadn't planned to. He had a collapsing company to triage, a furious board, and a scandal to survivably cauterize. But looking at the fatigue in her face, he nodded. I'll make sure I am. Why? Maybe because you helped me last night more than you know. Let me return a fraction. She studied him, those clear, intelligent eyes, seeing more than he liked. You're not just some random executive, are you? No, he admitted. Should I be worried? He half smiled. Probably, but not about this. I'll see your credentials sorted. I have people. Layla tugged. Mama, I'm hungry. The tension cracked. Lila exhaled, smoothing Layla's hair. Okay, baby. Breakfast. She looked back. Thank you again. You keep rescuing us. Maybe you keep rescuing me, he said softly. They split outside. Their taxi swallowed them. His driver eased a black sedan curbside. Layla's small hand waved from the rear window. Where to, Mr. Hale? Hotel, Adrian said. Then the office. London traffic gathered them. He opened his briefcase. Between folders labeled Helios and Q4 projections was Layla's drawing, him smiling under a rainbow. He stared too long, then opened his laptop. There was, unmistakably, work he had to do. At the Four Seasons, he showered, suited, and took the desk facing the Thames. The city sprawled gray and alive, millions moving, unaware of corporate wars above them. Kara's email stack awaited. Emergency board session, press queries, 3 major shareholders demanding answers, a multi-nation lawsuit claiming data exploitation. And under it, last night's encrypted line, Helios Phase 2 will proceed regardless of casualties. His fingers hovered, then he typed Lila Brooks. Results poured in. Former director, Uganda Health Initiative. Articles praising her mobile clinics, lives saved, awards, community testimonies. Then a cliff, coverage ending 3 years earlier. He tunneled into archives with access he shouldn't use and found it, buried in funding reallocation Q2, 2023. Her program was one of 47, cut for insufficient alignment with corporate objectives. No mention of patients. Just clinical language sanitizing harm. His signature scrawled at the bottom. Date. Authorization. He pushed back from the desk, stomach roiling. Lila had sat across the aisle, telling him about rebuilding, while he was the architect of her collapse. His phone flashed Martin Vale, board chair. He let it go to voicemail. He couldn't do Martin's chess now, not with proof in front of him. He did something unfamiliar. He chose right over safe. For 2 hours, he made calls. He phoned conference organizers, verified Lila's credentials, and bumped her to a main stage panel. He pushed her nonprofit into printed materials. He scheduled meetings with 3 foundations likely to fund her work. No grandstanding, just restitution. By the time he left for the office, his headache sharpened to a blade. Under it pulsed something he hadn't felt in years: purpose. The next 3 days blurred. Boardroom battles, press deflections, midnight legal triage. He skipped the conference, telling himself he was buried. Truth, he was afraid to meet her eyes. On the 4th day, avoidance ran out. As a fresh sponsor, his absence had become conspicuous. Kara slotted a brief appearance. Shake hands, leave. He slipped into the convention center as the main panel began. The auditorium swelled with activists, nonprofit leaders, philanthropists. He chose a back row, anonymous as possible. The moderator introduced the speakers. He half listened until he heard Dr. Lila Brooks. She crossed the stage in a simple blue dress, hair back, nerves traveling to his seat. She sat, hands folded tight. The topic? Rebuilding trust after corporate exploitation. Irony crackled in the air around his name and shadow. Others went first, polite, careful, antiseptic. Then Lila leaned toward the mic. Her voice was clear, steady. I used to think good intentions were enough, she began. Work hard, care hard, and we'd push through anything. Then a corporation cut funding across Africa without warning. Clinics closed, people died. You could feel the audience hold its breath. I'm not here to name names, she said. I'm here to ask what comes after betrayal. How do we rebuild? How do we trust again? Because surrender is not an option. The people we serve can't afford our despair. Murmurs, nods, focus. She spoke from the heart. Resilience, stubborn hope, the math of small victories. She talked about her daughter and the world she wanted for her. Every word tightened Adrian's guilt until it rang. When the applause crested, he knew hiding was over. He had to tell her, even if it shattered goodwill. He waited while the crowd cleared and slipped backstage. Lila gathered notes, chatting softly with another panelist. When she saw him, surprise lit her face. Adrian, I didn't know you were here. Thought you were swamped. I was, he said, but I wanted to hear you. You were incredible. Thank you, she said, emotion bright in her eyes. Did you arrange those meetings? 3 foundations reached out. They mentioned your name. A few calls, he said. A few calls that might save an organization, she replied. I can't thank you enough. He swallowed. Lila, I need to be honest. He forced eye contact. I haven't told you everything. Her smile thinned. What do you mean? My name. It's not just Adrian. It's Adrian Hale, CEO of Ethereum Systems. Color drained from her face. She stepped back as if hit. No, you can't be. I am, he said quietly. And I'm the one who signed off on cutting your funding 3 years ago. For a long moment she stared, then horror gave way to understanding, then pure, bright anger. You, she whispered. You dismantled what we built. Kids died, Adrian. Children who could have been saved. You chose this. I know. And I'm sorrier than words can cover. Sorry? She laughed without humor. You think sorry patches morgues? You think panel passes and phone calls balance that ledger? No, he said. Nothing balances it, I know. Then, why are you here? Her voice went razor quiet. Say it, now. To ease your conscience. To feel clean before you crawl back to your mahogany table. Because I'm trying to make things right, he said, standing in the heat of her fury, knowing he deserved every flame. And that this, finally, was the only honest place to stand. Make things right, Lila repeated, voice like glass. With what? Press releases, glossy pledges, a check big enough to make your conscience quiet? She took a breath, steadied herself. You can't resurrect clinics with spin. You can't outrun blood with branding. Not this time, Adrian. He didn't flinch. No spin. Real changes. Helios ends. Today. I'll publish the internal memos, halt deployments, pull contracts, full audit by independent ethicists, not hand-picked consultants. Restitution funds routed straight to programs we cut, yours included, managed by third parties. No strings, no leverage, no headlines first. Her eyes narrowed, measuring. And when your board strings you up for it? Then I swing, he said. Better to fall telling the truth than stand behind a lie. The room's HVAC hummed like distant surf. You can start by naming harm, out loud. Publicly, she said. Oh, name the harm, the actors, the choices, the costs, Lila continued. No passive voice. No mistakes were made. People died. Partnerships shattered. Communities lost trust that takes lifetimes to build. Adrian nodded once. I'll name it all. With documents, with my signature, with the timeline and receipts. You'll also face the governments you harvested data from, she said. In person, he exhaled. Yes. And you'll restore data sovereignty. Delete what never should have been collected and compensate for what can't be uncollected. Yes. She folded her arms. And me? You don't get absolution from me. I'm not here for absolution, he said. I'm here because your daughter asked me not to forget color. The faintest crease softened Lila's brow. It vanished. Don't you dare use Layla's kindness as scaffolding. I won't, he said. I'll use it as a reminder to act. Footsteps echoed beyond the curtains. A stagehand peeked, then vanished. Lila's voice dropped. You know what repair looks like. Tell me. It's boring. Paperwork, relicensing, logistics, generators, cold chain fridges, field stipends actually paid on time. It's not a speech. It's wire transfers and procurement that doesn't disappear mid-route. Oh, then that's what we fund, he said. Unsexy line items, audited monthly, published openly. She nodded once, reluctantly impressed by the specificity. What about Helios's private security contracts? Cancelled, today. Data brokers? Terminated. Litigation budget repurposed to remedy funds. PR? They get the truth or a pink slip. Lila looked at him for a long, hard second. Bring me a signed halt order by nightfall. Bring me a schedule of disclosures. Bring me the first tranche to restart 3 rural clinics within 72 hours. You'll have them. If you don't, she said, I'll bury you in daylight. He managed a tired smile. Sunlight's the plan. Her phone buzzed. She glanced down. An email from the summit chair, slotting her into a prime media block. She cut her eyes back at him. You did this? I moved a few chairs, he said. The microphone was already yours. My voice doesn't fix your record, she said. It isn't supposed to, he replied. It fixes what it can, where it matters. A silence settled, uneasy, honest. We're not allies, she said. We're intersecting storms. I'll take that, he said, as long as the rain lands where needed. The panel door creaked. Applause swelled outside as the next session emptied. Lila gathered her notes, spine straight. I have interviews. I have resignations to draft, he said. Start with Martin Vale, she said. He engineered Helios's loopholes. He did, Adrian answered. And I let him. That ends. One more thing, she said, pausing in the doorway. When you hold that press conference, say Sadie's name only if you mean it. Don't turn your grief into theater. He swallowed. I won't, she nodded. Good, because people can smell performance, and they've choked on enough of it already. She was gone, blue dress vanishing into the conference maze. Adrian stood alone with the chilled air and the low hum of electricity, the green crayon pressed against his heartbeat. He dialed Kara. Put compliance, legal, and security on a joint call in 10. Draft the Helios halt. Now? Kara asked. Now, he said. And get an external ethics firm on standby, someone with teeth, not a rubber stamp. We'll hand them everything. A beat. This burns the house, she warned. Then we build a better one, he said. Also schedule a press conference, tonight, 7. He hung up and texted a number he'd sworn off. Martin Vale. Boardroom, 1 hour, non-negotiable. Replies stacked, reporters, directors, counsel, the old guard circling. He pocketed the phone, exhaled, and walked into bright convention light, blinking as if from a cave, a man about to unspool a fuse publicly. In the car, London flowed by, buses shouldering lanes, cyclists arrowing past, the Thames pewter under a lid of cloud. He drafted the halt order line by line, scope, cessation, notifications, data destruction, third-party escrow, restitution. No euphemisms, no hedges. He signed it digitally, then printed for ink. At headquarters, glass and steel reflected his approach like a question. He took the elevator alone, watching floors blink past. The boardroom was already full. Martin at the head, jaw set. Directors arranged like a chess problem. Adrian slid the document stack onto the table. Helios stops. Today. Absolutely not, Martin snapped. You don't have the votes. Adrian placed the signed halt order in front of him. Operational authority is mine. You'll have your vote after disclosures go public. Murmurs rippled. Disclosures? A director asked. All of them, Adrian said. Contracts, side letters, emails. We confess before we're indicted. You'll crater shareholder value, Martin hissed. We'll preserve something rarer, Adrian said. A soul. Sentiment doesn't pay pensions, Martin shot back. Truth does over time, Adrian said. And we owe it to people we harmed. He looked around the table. Or you can fire me, but you'll sign this first. Silence held. Then Kara slid into the room with a tablet. External firm confirmed. They want everything in 48 hours. Press is booked for 1900. Martin's nostrils flared. This is a coup. No, Martin, Adrian said, finally weary. This is an admission. And a start. If you tank this company, Martin began. We already sank it the day we called exploitation innovation, Adrian said. I'm hauling it back to surface, or going down strapped to the hull. He looked at Kara. Send the halt order, notify partners and governments, freeze Helios accounts, begin escrow transfers. Kara's fingers flew. Done, she said. Phones vibrated in a chorus around the table, alerts cascading. Adrian turned back to the directors. You'll each receive the disclosure schedule. If you prefer to be surprised, stay seated. If you prefer counsel, step out now. 3 chairs scraped back immediately. Martin didn't move. You think this wins you forgiveness? No, Adrian said. I think it buys someone medicine and keeps a generator on in the bush. That's worth more than my reputation. He gathered the folders. I have a press conference to prepare and a mother to face again. In his office, he stared at Sadie's photo, gap-toothed grin, marker on her fingers. He took the green crayon from his pocket and placed it beside the frame like a votive. I'm trying, he whispered. Then he opened a blank statement and typed the first line. We chose profit over people. Reporters packed the atrium by evening, lenses aimed, hiss of whispers, under warm lights. Adrian stepped to the podium, notes in hand, but not needed. I won't waste your time. Etherean systems harmed communities we promised to help. We harvested data without consent. We cut lifelines. People died. Today, Helios ceases operations worldwide. We're disclosing contracts, communications, and off-book arrangements to regulators, partners, and the public. Restitution funds are established and independently governed. Data collected without consent will be deleted. What can't be reversed will be compensated under advisement from affected governments and organizations. I signed the orders. I take responsibility. No passive voice. I approved cuts that shuttered clinics, including Dr. Lila Brooks's program in Uganda. That decision haunts me, as it should. This isn't penance. It's the floor of repair. Hold us to it. Hold me to it. Hands shot up. Are you resigning? A reporter asked. If the board calls for it, yes, he said. I won't fight to keep a title. I will fight to keep promises. Are you doing this to avoid charges? We're doing this because it's right. Charges, if they come, will be met with cooperation. You've spoken before about loss, another reporter said gently. Does this connect? He inhaled. My daughter Sadie died 2 years ago. Grief didn't make me moral. People facing harm did. A child on a plane reminded me that color still exists. I owe her a world that deserves it. The conference ended in a roar of questions and camera clicks. Adrian stepped away, pulse hammering. Kara caught his shoulder. Phones exploding. Some directors want your head, some want a miracle. Governments are surprised. We'll show them the plan, he said. Then we'll show them the money moving. He left the building into a cool, restless night. Across the river, lights stitched the water. His phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. Phase 2 was already in motion. Brave speech, watch your back. He pocketed it and kept walking, aware of shadows, committed to walking anyway. At the hotel, he found an email from Lila. No pleasantries, just bullet points. licenses needed, routes to reopen, a prioritized list of medicines, salaries for field nurses, diesel estimates. Logistics, exactly as warned, boring, life-saving, ledgered. He replied with confirmations, attachments, timestamps, money moved, not promises, proof. Outside his window, sirens braided with river wind. Adrian set the green crayon beside his keyboard and opened a new memo. Governance overhaul, immediate steps. He didn't ask for redemption. He asked for receipts, repairs, and relentless follow-through. Somewhere across London, a mother tucked in her child. The work began. Even as he said it, Adrian heard how thin it rang. Because meeting you and Layla reminded me, there are lives under every decision I sign. Because I want to be better than I've been. Lila shook her head, tears bright. I trusted you. I told you everything. Ishim. And you sat there knowing, she said, voice breaking. Knowing what your company did, and saying nothing. I didn't realize it was your program until after landing, he admitted. But you're right, I should have told you immediately. Why didn't you? Because I was afraid. Afraid of this, of your eyes. Oh, how am I looking at you? She asked. Like I'm what's wrong with the world, he said. Maybe I am. Lila wiped at her cheeks, angry. I spoke about rebuilding trust, while you listened, knowing you were the betrayal. That's why I'm here, to tell the truth, to repair. Not for applause or headlines, he continued, steadying. Because it's right. When did you suddenly care about right? Lila shot back. At 30,000 feet? When my 7-year-old told you you looked tired. The words landed like blades, deserved and precise. Adrian absorbed them, refusing to look away. I'm not asking forgiveness, he said softly. You might not even believe me, but I will stop Helios, expose what Etherian did, and root support to the groups we gutted, yours first, even if it costs everything. Why should I believe that? Because I've got nothing left to protect but truth. The board's circling, he added. They want me gone. My name is already ash. The only thing I can salvage is decency. Lila studied him, compassion and fury wrestling. Before she could answer, a small voice. Mama, why are you crying? Layla stood in the doorway, notebook hugged tight. Lila forced a smile. I'm okay, baby, just talking with Mr. Hale. Layla walked to Adrian, considered his face like a puzzle. She fished a bright yellow smiley sticker from her pocket. You look sad again. This helps. She pressed it into his palm. You can fix things, she whispered. Mama says broken things get fixed if you care. Adrian stared at the sticker, throat tightening. Thank you, Layla, he managed. Lila gathered her daughter, eyes still hard when they met his. We're leaving. But Mama. Now, Layla. The child waved as they went. The sticker caught the light. Alone backstage amid cables and folding chairs, Adrian felt the weight of his failures settle like armor. Telling the truth didn't ease him. It made the cost plain. In the hotel that night, he opened his phone to the last text from Sadie. Daddy, when you fix things, can you fix me too? He'd canceled pancakes for a meeting and never replied. No fix could bring her back, but maybe he could fix this. Kill Helios, help Lila's work revive, become the father Sadie believed in. He opened his laptop, not a resignation, an indictment, memos, ledgers, covert footage, data trails, approvals. He would set fire to his own house, if that's what justice required. Then a text from an unknown number. We know what you're doing. Adrian looked at the sticker on his hand, heard Layla's tiny certainty. You can fix things. Tomorrow, he would try, even if it broke him completely. Sleep never came. Dawn found him still compiling, diverted aid funds fueling data extraction, executives joking about villages with no legal recourse, covert scans, and unconsented records sold downstream. It was uglier than memory. He showered, knotted his sharpest tie, armor for a bad day, and braced for war. The board had called at 10 a.m. Emergency. His phone rang. Kara. They know you're gathering evidence, she whispered. Martin's been here since 6, huddling with security and legal. Let them know, he said. I'm done hiding. Adrian, they'll destroy you. They'll try, he said. I've got something they don't. What? The truth. He ended the call and stepped into Canary Wharf's glass and steel cathedral that once thrilled him. Now it felt cold, as if he were entering an aquarium where sharks watched from the dark. Employees tracked him with rumor-fed eyes. He kept walking, head high, pulse steady. The elevator climbed like a countdown. The executive floor buzzed. Murmurs, sidelong glances. Doors shut a second too soon. Kara met him in the hall, worry etched deep. "They're all inside," she said. "All 12. Martin brought counsel. This isn't normal." "I know," he said. "Whatever happens, you knew nothing. But I did help." "You followed instructions," he said. "Don't let them make you a casualty." The conference doors opened. Martin Vale stood immaculate, contempt barely concealed. "How generous of you to join us," he said. Adrian passed him without pausing. The table of directors looked like a jury. "Sit," Martin commanded, claiming the head chair. "I'll stand," Adrian replied. "This isn't a negotiation," Martin warned. "Correct," Adrian said, placing his briefcase on the table but leaving it closed. "Because Helios ends today." The room erupted. Overlapping outrage, legal threats, disbelief ringing off glass and wood. Martin's palm cracked the table. Silence dropped. "You lack authority," he said, dangerously calm. "Especially to kill our highest margin initiative." "Margin from unconsented medical data," Adrian said evenly. "From harvesting biometrics under aid cover. From converting human beings into product lines. Helios is predation, and every one of you knows it." "Careful," growled Clark, new CFO, voice smooth with warning. "Those are accusations." "They're facts," Adrian said. "Documented." Martin leaned back, studying him like a broken instrument. "This looks like a breakdown," he said. "Overwork, sleep deprivation, paranoia. You wandered into a charity conference and promised money we cut for good reason." "That's your story?" Adrian asked. "It's the truth," Martin said coolly. "You've lost perspective. You're letting grief run governance." "You mean conscience," Adrian said, control fraying. "We helped people while selling them." "We revolutionized access," Martin snapped. "Sustainably. Profit isn't sin." "Weaponizing records is," Adrian answered. "Tell that to families denied coverage after we peddled their files," he went on, voice lowering. "To clinics shuttered while we siphoned value." Clark folded his hands. "Even if true, and I'm not conceding, it's reckless to kill a multi-billion-dollar operation, thousands of salaries, pension funds. You'll crater livelihoods." "I'm preventing more lives from being cratered," Adrian said. Martin stood, color rising. "Enough. This isn't about morality. It's about leadership. You're unfit." He slid a folder across the table. "Per your physician, acute stress, probable depression." Adrian's stomach iced. "You violated my records." "We safeguarded the company," Martin said. "Sign the retirement papers," Martin continued. "Take the package. Walk quietly. We'll eulogize you as a visionary who wisely stepped aside." "And if I don't?" Adrian asked. "We bury you," Martin said, smile thin. "Leaks, lawsuits, character demolition. You'll spend a decade fighting subpoenas instead of sleeping." Adrian glanced around the table. Faces he'd enriched, now sterile with calculation. He saw Lila's fury in one mind's eye, Layla's sticker in the other. "No," he said. Martin blinked. "No, I won't sign. I won't walk away. And I won't let Helios keep breathing." He opened his briefcase. A small USB drive gleamed. "This holds everything," he said. "Wire trails, off-ledger notes, field video. Tomorrow morning it goes to Oliver Grant at the Guardian International. He's been on corporate colonialism for years. He'll know the story to tell." The room detonated. Shouts, phones, legal scrambling. Security was summoned. Threats flew like shrapnel. Adrian simply stood, the drive between forefinger and thumb like a fuse. "You're finished," Martin spat finally. "Not just here, everywhere. We will salt the earth behind you." "You can't take what I've already lost," Adrian said. "But you won't take this." He pocketed the drive. "Either Helios ends, or I end the myth of Ethereum." He left the boardroom to the sound of Martin shouting orders, the company's machine revving to crush its maker. For the first time in 2 years, Adrian's breathing felt clean. Scary, yes, but clean. Hours smeared. Security escorted him out. Access vanished. Email died mid-refresh. By the time he reached his hotel, headlines were blooming. Ethereum CEO sidelined after mental health crisis. Sources cite instability. The spin was surgical, anonymous concern from close associates, soothing praise for the board's responsible stewardship. Calls avalanched, reporters, ex-colleagues, investors. He ignored all of it. Instead, he packed one bag and checked out. If Martin meant the threats, and Adrian knew he did, staying visible was foolish. He slid into an East London safe flat, arranged by an old contact. Plain furniture, a reliable deadbolt, a anonymous beat opulence today. On the sagging couch, he pulled his phone, hovered over Lila's number. What could he say? I started a war. You might be collateral. I'm trying not to make it worse. I'm sorry. Again. A knock hit the door. Sharp, wrong. No one should know. Who is it? It's Lila. His heart stuttered. He opened to find her in the hallway, Layla's hand laced in hers. Determination set her face. Her eyes were red. How'd you find me? Friends who know people, she said. When a tech titan disappears, word travels. We need to talk. Oh, it isn't safe, he warned. Nowhere is, she said, ushering Layla in. Reporters called all day, anonymous texts telling me to shut up. Someone came to our hotel asking about our flight conversation. Guilt crashed. I'm sorry, he said. Too late for that, Lila answered, settling Layla with crayons. I saw the coverage. The narrative they're pushing, she said, turning back. So I did my own calls. Uganda, colleagues. They confirmed it all. Data collection undercover, privacy wreckage, records sold without consent. Her voice shook with fury. You knew. You let it. I did, he said. I'm stopping it. By burning yourself down? She asked. If that's the cost, he said. She stared, measuring. I spent all night deciding whether you're playing me, she said. Want to know why I came anyway? Why? Layla. She woke up asking if you were okay. Said she dreamed you were in trouble. Lila's tone softened, then hardened again. My kid has better instincts than I do, she said. You don't deserve her faith. But you're trying. That counts. I've got evidence, too. She lifted her phone. Sworn statements, vanishing charts, unreported breaches. I've been compiling 3 years, waiting for someone to listen. Why show me? He asked. Because I'm furious with you. And with a system that rewards this, she answered. If we're going to topple them, we do it together. I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it for the people who never got a choice. I understand, he said. Good. So what's the move? She asked. He opened his laptop. Spreadsheets, emails, field video. For 2 hours they cross-referenced, braided timelines, shored holes. Lila was merciless and exacting, interrogating claims, tightening language. Layla colored quietly, then brought a drawing. 3 stick figures holding hands beneath a bright, bossy sun. That's me, Mama, and you, Layla explained. We're a team. We are, Adrian said, voice snagging. Evening leaned in. Lila's phone vibrated. She listened, face draining. We need to move, she whispered. Now. What? A friend says people are offering cash for info about us together. Oh, they want leverage, Adrian said. If they tie you to me, they'll use you against me, Lila finished. She swept crayons into a backpack. Either way, we leave. Safe place? Oliver Grant, Adrian said. Journalist, has a secure drop. If we reach him, the story survives. Let's go. They left within minutes. Adrian with his laptop, Lila gripping Layla's hand down a back stair into rain-slicked streets. They cabbed close, then walked the rest. Hoods up, shoulders hunched. Oliver's bolt hole was a plain flat above a Vietnamese joint in Shoreditch, cumin and star anise ghosting the stairwell. Oliver opened the door, 40s, ink-stained fingers, eyes that missed little. Hale, he said, looking him over. Took you long enough to find a spine and company. His gaze slid to Lila and Layla. This must be one hell of a story. It is, Lila said. We're telling it together. Coffee then, Oliver said, stepping aside. Long night inbound. Inside, cramped but clean, Adrian unfolded the yellow sticker, creased, barely sticky, still smiling. Lila noticed. She believes in you, she said quietly. Keeps calling you Fixer Man. I hope she's right, he said. For all our sakes. I hope so too, Lila said. Because if we fail, if they bury us, we need to know we bled for something real. We will, he promised. London's lights tiled the dark outside. Somewhere, Martin's war room spun plans. Somewhere, people paid for his signatures. Here, 3 stubborn hearts sharpened hope. Another message hit Adrian's phone, more specific now. You won't leave London alive. He showed Lila. She read, looked up, steady. Then we make sure the truth outruns us, she said. Layla glanced over her crayons. Don't quit, fixer man. Adrian's smile came unforced. I won't. Promise. They got to work. They wrote through the night. Coffee, cold noodles, relentless sourcing. Oliver was surgical, demanding documentation for every line, predicting each deflection Ethereum's lawyers would attempt. By dawn, they had an unassailable spine. Names, timestamps, transfers, contracts, field logs. It would stand in court and in the court of public opinion. The summit's closing session was set for 2. Weeks earlier, Adrian had been penciled as a late-ad speaker. The board surely assumed he'd crawl away now. That was their mistake. You're actually doing this? Oliver asked. Walk on stage and torch your own house? Exactly, Adrian said, straightening his tie. He looked to Lila, who was tying Layla's shoelace with quick, practiced hands. Unless you think I shouldn't. Lila's anger had cooled to tempered steel. Do what you know is right, she said. But know this. Once you start, it won't stop. They'll come hard. Lawsuits, smears. Maybe worse. She flicked a glance at Layla, lowered her voice. Last night's text wasn't theater. I know, he said, touching the inside pocket where the drive rode like a small planet. But if I don't, Helios grows. People keep getting carved up for profit. And I stay the man I despise. Are you fixing the big problem today? Layla asked, earnest. I'm going to try, he said. Good, she nodded. Trying's the bravest. She held up a new drawing, stick figures on a stage, a crowd of circles. That's you telling truth. He almost broke. What if they don't listen? Then talk louder, Layla said, returning to colors. Oliver packed gear. I'll stream from the floor, he said. Once you start, the internet gets it. Even if someone yanks cables, we'll have mirrors everywhere. He paused. Security? Let them watch, Adrian said. If they swing, cameras swing back. I'll be there, Lila said. Front and center. If seeing us steadies you, good. If it scares them, better. He wanted to tell her to keep Layla away, but he'd forfeited that right. Lila's work had been wrecked by his choices. She deserved to witness whatever reckoning came. They left separately, different routes, just in case. Adrian wore the same clean armor, navy suit, white shirt, quiet tie. In his wallet, Sophie's photo faced the yellow sticker. The Thames gleamed pewter as he reached the exhibition center. Security clustered at the doors. Metal detectors droned. He clocked men who read as corporate muscle, not event staff. Martin's eyes in suits. Radios lifted the second they saw him. But credentials were credentials, and this was public. He walked through without breaking stride, heart drumming. In the main hall, glass walls framed the river like a witness. Tiered seats rose in arcs. Activists, philanthropists, diplomats, reporters. Cameras perched like hawks. He spotted Lila and Layla midway back, blending into the sea. Oliver had posted near an aisle with a clear sightline. Backstage, a harried organizer intercepted him. Mr. Hale, we didn't expect, given the news. I'm still on the schedule, he said. Well, yes, but the board sent a replacement to speak for Ethereum. Martin Vale is here. Then the audience gets 2 versions, Adrian said mildly. Transparency plays well at an ethics summit. The organizer swallowed, nodded. After lunch, 30 minutes. 30 minutes, stretched like wire. Adrian stood in the wings as polished talks lauded responsible innovation. Irony dripped. Then Martin appeared, immaculate. Their eyes met. Poison flashed. You shouldn't be here, Martin murmured, stepping aside to block no one. We had an understanding. You had demands, Adrian said. I had a different plan. It won't work, Martin said. We've prepped rebuttals. You're radioactive. No one believes you. Then you're safe, Adrian answered. Martin's smile was blade thin. Last chance to walk. Take it. I ran out of last chances, Adrian said. The host stepped up to the mic. Names rolled. His heart kicked hard. He walked into uncertain applause, 1,000 eyes weighing rumor against reality. He found Lila. He found Layla, small hand lifted in a brave wave. Lila's nod was not approval, acknowledgement, maybe permission. He gripped the podium. "Thank you," he said, voice finding level. "You've seen the headlines. They say I broke," he continued, "that I'm paranoid, unstable, lashing out at the company I built. Those are lies engineered to discredit me before I speak. Here is the truth about Helios." He clicked the remote. The screen bloomed with Ethereum's glossy promise reels, clinics, smiles, ribbon cuttings. "This is what we sold," he said. Another click. The light turned harsh. Internal spreadsheets, side letters, emails with jokes that weren't jokes, hidden camera clips of unconsented scans. "This is what Helios was," he said. "Data extraction disguised as care, medical records monetized, biometric catalogs sold downstream." The room gasped. Anger rose like heat. Journalists hammered keys. Oliver's stream numbers vaulted. "We promised care," Adrian said, voice lifting. "We delivered just enough to keep cover while we exploited trust. We told ourselves the ends justified the means. I told myself that. I was wrong. People suffered for it. Evidence cycled. Village complaints ignored. Denial letters citing sold records. Procurement rerouted to enrich quiet partners." In the wings, Martin barked into a headset. Security edged forward, then hesitated. Cameras everywhere. 1,000,000 eyes online. Adrian kept going. "I signed expansions. I toasted profits. My signature is on pain." Lila stood now, tears on her cheeks. Tears not of shock, but vindication. "The board knew," Adrian said. "They approved, profited, and when I tried to stop it, they tried to erase me. They leaked my medical notes, threatened me." He lifted his phone, the screen filled with last night's death text. "Oh, that arrived yesterday," he said, "because truth scares them more than competitors." Security reached the stairs, but the optics were impossible. Policing a confession at an ethics summit. Martin stormed the stage, fury white-hot. "Shut it down," he snapped. "Pull the feed." Adrian didn't raise his voice. "Too late. Documents sit with regulators in 12 countries," he said. "With the ICC, with every major newsroom, Helios is over." Martin lunged. Guards intercepted him instead, wrestling back his rage as the hall dissolved into ringing phones, triumphant shouts, frantic calls. Adrian stayed at the podium, very calm, breathing finally full. Sirens wailed faintly beyond glass. Uniformed officers entered with crisp purpose, badges bright beneath stage lights. They bypassed Adrian, strode straight for Martin Vale, reading charges. Fraud, privacy crimes, conspiracy. Cameras caught everything. The crowd surged with shock, anger, vindication. Somewhere mid-auditorium, Lila exhaled like a held decade. Applause detonated. Uneven, then relentless. Some cheered, others wept. Journalists shouted questions into the roar. Martin's shout fractured into silence as handcuffs clicked. Adrian gripped the podium, steadier than expected, ribs lifting like he could finally take a full breath. Layla raised a small thumb, smile incandescent, courage concentrated into one bright gesture. "Oh, I can't undo harm," Adrian said into the wake, "but I can stop it. I can name it, and I can spend what's left of me repairing it." He stepped back as lights seared, knees suddenly watery. Paramedics approached. He waved them off, insisting, "I'm okay." Mostly, he believed it. Lila pushed through the tangle, kneeling beside him, as the hall buzzed. "You did it," she breathed, disbelief and steel entwined. "We did," he corrected. "Your testimony, your records, none of this stands without you." Layla wriggled between them, hugged Adrian's neck, whispering, "You fixed the big problem," he cried, finally unguarded. Weeks blurred like rain on glass. Hearings, depositions, televised committees. Adrian sat in parliament chambers, voice measured, naming structures that made Helios possible. He brought binders and receipts, declined spin, absorbed outrage. Lawyers circled, regulators pounced, shareholders scattered. He sold remaining shares, endowing funds routed directly to field operators Lila recommended. Headlines were knives at first. Founder admits exploitation. empire built on consent theater. Then tone shifted. He burns his own house. Whistleblower from inside the throne room. It wasn't absolution. It was oxygen for conversations that should have happened years ago. Meanwhile, 3 rural clinics reopened under independent governance, no branding anywhere. Lila's organization, rebuilt, diversified, secured multi-year funding from consortia wary of PR gloss, hungry for receipts. She negotiated clauses that protected data sovereignty, codified refusal rights, enforced local leadership. She turned down grand offices, kept her days in clinics and community halls, evenings on policy drafts. Layla attended school, sketched in margins. Accountability arrived, as it should. Adrian pled to negligence and supervisory failures. A judge imposed a suspended sentence, lifetime board bans, community service measured in thousands of hours. He didn't appeal. He taught pro bono seminars on dark patterns and governance pitfalls. He swept conferences for euphemisms and replaced them with verbs. His life shrank beautifully. A modest East End flat, a kettle that whistled, a desk by a loud window. The Thames was now a walk, not a view. He traded power for purpose, suits for shirts he ironed himself, midnight flights for early buses, status for substance, and slept again. One morning, his phone lit with Lila's number. "We finished the clinic," she said, wind in her voice. Same village, new protocols, solar cold chain humming. Joy stretched through the line. "They remembered me, Adrian. After everything, they remembered." "Of course they did," he said, smiling into an empty kitchen. "She wants to talk," Lila added, laughter folding into tenderness. Layla barreled on the line. "Mr. Fixer, guess what? I drew the new clinic, and everyone signed it." He pictured signatures looping around bright roofs. "I can't wait to see," he said. "You coming to help with computers?" "Soon." "Okay, don't forget to color when the sky's grumpy," Layla instructed. "I won't," he promised. Lila returned. "We miss you," she said, truth plain. "I miss you too," he answered. "Thank you for believing I could change." "You earned belief," she said. "But remember, redemption's a practice, not a finish line." He framed 2 pictures above his desk, Layla's rainbow trio and Sadie's faded dinosaurs. Opposite the drawings sat a draft essay on product ethics. The seduction of growth at any cost, the slow moral drift disguised as efficiency, guardrails that must be bolted early. He wrote plainly, without scolding, with scars. In his wallet, the yellow sticker rode beside Sadie's photo. On his bookshelf, a tissue-wrapped green crayon waited like a votive. Gifts from a child who refused to let him vanish inside grief's grayness. Talisman against the old self's return. Reminder that courage sometimes looked like small, ordinary kindness. Outside, London hurried. Couriers threaded buses. A dog tugged a writer past a bakery. A neighbor watered plants in mismatched slippers. Somewhere inside those lives were people harmed by his signatures. He couldn't find all of them. He couldn't fix every wound. He could refuse to create new ones. A news alert flashed. Another giant under investigation for covert data funnels. The industry shuddered. Adrian watched regulators quote the Helios disclosures as precedent. He closed the article, reopened his draft, added a section titled "When Metrics Become Morals," outlining ways to tether quarterly goals to human outcomes non-negotiably. He spoke to founders in borrowed classrooms, whiteboards scarred by old equations. "Design consent like you design uptime," he told them. "Treat refusal as a feature. Build tripwires that halt you without a hero." He drew failure modes like maps, circled traps he'd fallen into, and wrote no excuse beside them. One afternoon, he paused mid-sentence, walked to the window. The sky over the towers was a clean blue, unusually generous. He remembered Layla's verdict on their landing morning. "The sky feels happy now." He let the line rest on his tongue, a quiet liturgy, and believed it, simply. Emails chimed. Students sending drafts. A clinic requesting refurbished tablets. A privacy group inviting him to advise. He accepted what he could, redirected what he couldn't, stayed allergic to spotlights. He measured progress in generators humming, nurses paid on time, backups tested, silent clinics loud again with laughter and argument. The internet kept its appetite. Think pieces, hot takes, cycles of outrage. He tried not to watch himself in it. He saved bandwidth for the unglamorous columns, cost per kilometer for cold chain delivery, stipend parity across regions, patch schedules for offline devices. He learned the names of drivers by first name. Meanwhile, Lila led an international coalition, not from a dais, but from folding chairs, insisting policy sessions include the communities at stake. She kept no extraction without reciprocity at the center. She texted Adrian photos: a repaired wellhead, a training circle under a tree, a solar freezer gleaming like hope. They spoke often, but not constantly, letting their work, separate and braided, set the rhythm. When they met in London, they walked long loops by the river, arguing details, trading jokes, letting silences do their own stitching. Sometimes Layla joined, skipping, pocketing pebbles, leaving tiny stickers on bridge rails. On tougher nights, grief returned with its old precision. Adrian would sit with Sadie's drawing, let memory flood without drowning. He didn't bargain with loss anymore. He built around it, rooms strong enough to hold both ache and laughter, purpose and fatigue. He slept, woke, tried again, repeated. Invitations arrived, panels, keynotes, op-eds, hungry for contrition arcs. He said no politely. Invite Lila, he answered. Invite local leaders. Invite the clinic registrars who keep records with more integrity than most executives. Some organizers pivoted, some didn't. He didn't chase stages. He chased improvements measurable without applause. The restitution fund released another tranche. Line items that looked boring until they saved lives. Vaccine carriers, diesel, cold room repairs, hazard pay, a satellite link that wouldn't go down mid-upload, repairs for a battered ambulance. Layla mailed him a crayon-signed thank you for boring things that matter. He taped it above his monitor. On weekends, he cooked simple food, burned some of it, learned herbs by smell, switched to a cast-iron pan like an oath. He visited used bookstores, reclaimed underlines from old selves, left notes in margins for future strangers. Choose people, document everything, don't confuse speed with care. Once, he and Lila returned to the convention hall where it broke open. The staff had moved on. The stage felt smaller than memory. They stood in the back, heads tilted. Wild day, she said. Wild day, he echoed. They laughed. Surprised and grateful, the sound came easy again. Layla tugged his sleeve. Did your knees shake? She asked. Like a washing machine, he said. She giggled, solemnly handed him a new sticker, green heart this time. Backup color, she explained. He stuck it beside his watch face. Redundancy, he said. Exactly, she replied, proud of matching his vocabulary. He declined a documentary offer. Make it about the clinics, he told the director. If I'm in frame, it should be carrying boxes. He did carry boxes, awkwardly, but learned the rhythm. Lift with legs, don't rush the line, remember names, listen more than you speak, don't block doorways. The regulator reports landed, dense, unflinching, citing Helios as a blueprint for what never to repeat. Fines fell like winter hail. A few executives pleaded out. Some fought and lost. Adrian supplied affidavits, declined victory laps, sent follow-up emails asking whether the restitution tranches had cleared to local accounts. In the quiet hours, he wrote letters he'd never send. To families harmed, to Sadie, to the version of himself who chose speed over soul. He didn't expect answers. The act steadied his hands. He learned an odd, beautiful discipline. Keep promises small and relentless. Keep timelines honest. He revised hiring checklists for startups. Red team incentives, rotate escalation authority, publish refusal analytics, audit consent flows quarterly, embed ombuds independent from profit centers. He attached a note. If these feel expensive, price a scandal. If they feel slow, price a funeral. Founders wrote back, chastened and grateful. He walked more. The city revealed seams he'd sped past. Repair shops that smelled like memory, tiny parks with stubborn roses, buskers folding jazz into traffic. He learned to enjoy the ordinary. A neighbor's wave, kettle whistle, sunlight sneaking across a chipped mug, the relief of a well-written paragraph. Some nights, he dreamed the plane again. Rain-slashed windows, a snapped buckle, a small hand reaching across a gap. He woke not with dread, but with duty humming like a generator. He checked his calendar. Clinic check-in, student office hours, document review, dinner with friends who didn't ask for miracles. A framed print arrived from Uganda. The new clinic under a sky too blue to be modest. Signatures in every color edged the border. Layla's name looped large. He hung it between the two drawings, an altar of sorts. To the past that hurts, the present that repairs, the future insisting. A journalist asked if he felt redeemed. No, he said gently. I feel responsible, some days grateful, never finished. The piece quoted him fairly. He got emails from strangers confessing complicity, asking for maps out. He sent them templates, reading lists, introductions. He asked them for receipts when they acted. He also got threats, quieter now, fewer. He forwarded them, logged them, refused to let fear reclaim the center. He'd already lived 2 years inside fear. It had built nothing. Courage, he'd learned, was administrative. Document, disclose, deliver, repeat. Show your work, show your working, let outcomes outlast outrage. On a bright morning, he met Lila and Layla at a park with terrible coffee and excellent light. They sat on a bench, 3 specks against a river, too busy to applaud. How's your heart? Lila asked. Less armored, he said. Beats on time, sometimes for no reason at all. Good, she said. Mine too. Layla dangled from the bench, sneakers scuffing air. Mama says we're rebuilding like Legos, she announced. We are, Lila agreed. Except these won't hurt when you step on them. They laughed again. That startled laughter people earn after slogging through long, unfunny seasons. Work called, they parted with practical plans. He walked home alongside tourists, bickering sweetly over maps, and couples learning the choreography of side by side. He let himself be one person among many, no title pinned, no microphones angled, no crisis soundtrack. Just footsteps, river breeze, late sun licking brick. Upstairs he brewed tea, adjusted his chair, reread a paragraph until it clicked. He mailed a small donation, triple-checked a transfer, archived a threat, replied to a shy student. Boring, blessed tasks. He texted Lila. Boardroom bands feel like freedom today. She replied, clinic generators feel like forever today. He sent back a photo of the sticker on his watch, green heart glowing faint, edges lifting, redundancy holding. She answered with Layla's new drawing of 3 stick figures, this time under a giant sun labeled again. He laughed out loud, surprised by the ferocity of his happiness. Evening leaned in. He stepped outside, let the stairwell's chipped paint and neighbors' murmured radio define luxury. The city smelled like rain, promised, but delayed. He counted breaths, not dollars, kept promises, not face, courted outcomes, not optics. He was learning to be proud of evidence, not applause. The phone rang again, Lila from a loud clinic courtyard. Generators purring, cold chain held through a blackout. A cheer rippled behind her. We're about to start vaccinations we canceled 2 years ago. He pressed his palm to the wall, anchoring. Send me the batch numbers, he said. I want to memorize them. Os, you're ridiculous, she laughed. In the best way. I'm trying, he said. Keep trying, she answered. That's the job. He hung up and wrote the batch numbers on a sticky note anyway, like an amulet. He placed it under the green crayon, a small stack of stubborn, necessary magic. A student draft dinged, a clever fix for consent revocation in flaky networks. He annotated with joy, sent links, asked annoying questions, promised introductions. He didn't miss the old calendar, corridors of crisis, applause as anesthesia. He missed his daughter. He let missing her be a room he visited with flowers. Headlines kept marching. He marched slower. He learned the names of receptionists and guards and janitors. He wrote fewer emails with subject lines that shouted. He scheduled walks like meetings. He put call a friend on lists and treated it like work. It turned out connection likes calendars too. On the anniversary, he visited a small park where trees held light differently. He sat with Sadie's fact, gone, beloved. He didn't barter. He promised instead. Less harm carried forward, more care built into systems, fewer stories where apologies arrived too late. He left a green crayon on a bench. On his way home, he passed a child coloring at a cafe table, tongue out in concentration. The parent looked exhausted and fiercely present. He caught the eye, nodded a quiet solidarity, kept moving, felt something in his chest align again. Like a book, reshelved where it always meant to belong. That night, lightning stitched the horizon. Rain finally kept its promise. He opened the window and let sound rinse rooms. He drafted a page titled Guardrails That Survive Leadership Changes, outlined how to bolt ethics into architecture rather than personalities. He ended with make doing right cheaper than wrong. In came an email from a regulator. Thanks for a clause suggestion, already saving them months. He smiled, typed back a practical amendment, attached a template, CC'd 2 local advocates. He'd learned never to ship policy without the people it touches shaping line breaks. He pressed send, exhaled. Tomorrow's list waited. Review procurement for refrigeration, lecture at a polytechnic, coffee with a burned-out founder, call with a rural nurse about tablet cases that don't shatter. Nothing glamorous, everything real. He turned off half the lights and let the room become sky shadow blue. A city sighed beneath him. He checked his wallet, sticker still holding, barely, photo still tender, always. He tucked them back, whispered thank you to no one and 2 people at once. He set an alarm, placed the green crayon on the sill, where moonlight could find it, where morning would too. He slept. Morning returned like a promise kept. Sun on the kettle, bus brakes singing the same old urban hymn. He laced shoes, gathered notes, grabbed a bag with more cords than clothes, locked the door twice. On the stairs, a kid's skateboard rattled. He grinned, remembering balance you feel more than see. He stepped onto the sidewalk at the exact moment a gust lifted, bright and clean. The sky was absurdly blue, London behaving like a postcard. He paused, remembering a small voice on a plane. The sky feels happy now. He said it aloud, unembarrassed. The sky feels happy now. It wasn't victory he felt. It was alignment. Not the sugar rush of a deal, but the quiet click of integrity meeting action. He walked toward a day full of uncinematic tasks that changed everything in ways headlines never measure. He hummed a tune he couldn't name, boots keeping time. In his pocket, the crayon, lighter now from being carried, still whole. In his chest, a steadier metronome. In his mind, checklists that end with people, not numbers. He crossed with the light, nodded at a cyclist, waved at the corner grocer, and kept moving toward work that repaired. He had lost a company, a legend, a fortune. He had found a practice, a community, himself. Above London's old streets, the impossible blue seemed to smile as Adrian Hale, no longer Titan, no longer Ghost, walked on. The fixer man, at last, had fixed the most broken thing he could, himself. When the buckle snapped and a child's hand reached across that aisle, Adrian finally heard what grief had been drowning out. Repair is built in inches, not miles. For those of us with grandkids and long memories, we know decency shows up as receipts, not speeches. Clinic generators humming, salaries paid on time, data deleted for good. You don't chase applause. You stack quiet, verifiable goods until the night loses its grip. Friends, I'd love your wisdom. In your lifetime, when have the boring fixes, paperwork done right, money sent on schedule, promises kept, made the biggest difference? If you were sitting beside Adrian on that rain-soaked night, what counsel would you give him about making amends that actually help people, not headlines? Share a memory or a hard-won lesson in the comments. If this story speaks to you, please like the video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, ring the bell, and invite a friend, so more folks can gain something real.